folks, Hutton Vassell here, and welcome to Best of Publishers series, where I take a look at different companies, talk about them, and give you my 10 favorite games from those companies. Today we're taking a look at Blue Orange Games. Now, Blue Orange Games is a very interesting company because they have sort of evolved over the years, but they've also stayed kind of true to their core, which is to make very simple, easy, accessible games, usually with pretty high quality components. There's a lot of different games that they have. I remember some of the first games I played from them, they sent me Yam Slam and some other games that were like basically just rolling dice and things like that. And I thought, okay, this company is cute. They have some nice games, these are quality games, but this is just a step from mass market. But as the years went by, and even just in the past couple years, they've started a line of strategy games, so it's kind of interesting to watch that. But they're still doing nice, simple, fun games, and sometimes even card games, which is like, wow, this is some pretty impressive stuff that these guys have. Their most popular game they ever made was Spot It, and they made about 30 different versions of Spot It. There was the Hockey League Spot It, all sorts of different Spot Its, where you turn over two cards and try to find the same thing on both cards. This was so popular and so powerful that Asmodee has snatched it up and it is now part of their repertoire, but Blue Orange Games is the company that made it happen. So here we go with my top 10 games from Blue Orange Games. Number 10 is Kaboom. Any game where you're taking a catapult and shooting stuff at other people's, trying to knock over blocks and things in their table is fine by me. Simple fun, but works really well. Number 9 is Fast Track. Now, Fast Track has different names, and I wasn't sure if even to give this one to Blue Orange because other bigger companies have made it. I'm not even sure who has made the original one. But Fast Track, and they made a hockey version too, is a game where you basically have these little wooden discs. You pull them back on this taut rope, let them fly across, shooting for a little hole in the middle and getting them on your opponent's side of the board. You're doing this as fast as you can. When all the discs are on your opponent's side, you win. So you're shooting them there, trying to block their shots and just doing it as fast as you can. It's silly, it's fun. And you think, oh, it's a one-shot thing, and I've played this thing probably 50 times. Every time I go to a convention where they have one of these, I'm like, let's play it. It's just an entertaining time. Fast Track. Number 8 is Goblet. Goblet is a simple strategy game where you are moving pieces, but there might be pieces underneath them. It is pretty clever as you move these and cover up other people's pieces and put pieces on the board. This is one of those games that you play and you're like, wait, it's over? No, we're playing again. I'm not sure I've ever seen one game of Goblet being played. There's always going to be multiple because the losing person can be like, all right, let's try it again. Good quality components, again, a standard of Blue Orange Games. Number 7 is Brave Rats. Now they were one of the companies to grab some of the small games that came from Japan. This was a small little one where you have 2 small decks of cards, and it's essentially an advanced version of War, but works really well strategic, and I think I still have it in my collection, although it's a small card game, so it would be hard to find, but it's so easy to play and get into. Number 6 is Battle Sheep. One of the most popular games that people have talked about in the past 5-10 years is probably Hey, That's My Fish, which is a game about penguins moving around and shrinking around and grabbing fish. I think Battle Sheep is a Hey, That's My Fish killer to some degree. You have stacks of sheep and you're moving them around and trying to maneuver and cut your opponents out, and it's mean. It should be called Hey, I Don't Like You. But I love it. I love the idea of moving across and blocking your opponents into different areas. It is an excellent game, Battle Sheep. Number 5 is New York 1901. Remember I talked about them coming into strategy games? New York 1901 was the first one. This was a Ticket to Ride size box, one of these sizes here. And in this game, players are building skyscrapers. Not physically. The game was two-dimensional. You're looking above, and also the 1901, the skyscrapers weren't that high. And you're building them and trying to get them along certain roads and putting different shapes out there, so there's almost a Tetris feel to it. Really just classic. It feels like a game that you could be playing 10 years later. It's easy to get into, but there's some deep strategy. A highly recommended game. Number 4 is Longhorn. This is a 2-player game from Bruno Cathala, which is essentially kind of like a Mancala type thing where you're picking up all the cattle on a spot and moving them and dropping them on the board and trying to control different regions. And the board's going to be randomized each time. And there's some special abilities and things, but it's really thinky and really just suddenly it's like, oh, the game is over. Intriguing. Let's try it again. That is kind of maybe the motto of Blue Orange Games. Let's play them again. Number 3 is Top That. Now, Blue Orange Games certainly makes some great games for kids. And Top That, which just came out last year, is one of those. This is a game in which you have just a top hat and a few other pieces, and then you flip a card over and you have to say, okay, these need to be hidden, these need to be seen, these are not involved. And you're stacking those and putting something, putting the rabbit in the hat or whatever you need to do. It makes kids think, it makes them think logically. The pieces are great quality, excellent game. But I like even better my number 2 game, and that's Dr. Eureka. Dr. Eureka has some test tube vials with orange, purple, and green balls in them. You flip it over and it shows how the balls need to be arranged, and you need to rearrange them without ever touching the balls or letting the balls touch the table. So you're pouring balls from one vial into another, so you got to think logically. I need to move the green ball to this one, then move these 2 purples there, then move that green on top of those. So that's great, teaches that, but there's also the dexterity element too. I might be able to figure out how to do it faster than my kids, but I'm going to be pouring the balls all over the floor and then I'm out of that round. Fun, it works for adults, it works for kids. It is a phenomenally good game. And my favorite game from Blue Orange Games is Doodle Quest. Really, really like Doodle Quest. There was another one that followed up on this. But the Doodle Quest thing basically was, hey, here's a picture of a fish, here's a picture of a board, and everyone is going to be drawing, except you're drawing on a transparency, looking at the picture, hoping you're drawing in the right spot, and then you take each player's transparency, put it on top, and see who drew right. Sometimes you color things in. Sometimes you're drawing a line from one spot to the other, trying to avoid different traps. It's based on a nautical theme, fishing and silliness. Works really well. A lot of different boards in there. I wish they would make more games. I wish there was a game in this line that came out every year. But still, Doodle Quest is great. Still in my collection. I like it very much. So those are my favorite games from Blue Orange Games. Like I said, they make lots of little dice games. There's streams. There's just a lot of good games from this company. They're not just kids' games, but if you're like, hey, I want to buy a game for Grandma and Grandpa or Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and they don't play many games, Blue Orange is always a good company to do that too. It also can take a good amount of wear and tear on their games. I can't wait to see what they do in the future. Those are my favorites. Let me know yours in the comments. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and this has been the best of Blue Orange Games.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.